This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Well, hello and welcome to an all-new episode of Safety FM with Jay Allen. I hope everything is good and grand inside of your neck of the woods as we are hanging out on this Tuesday, July the 1st of 2025. So yes, we're going to have a brief conversation today in regards of what is going on inside of the world. So as I got back from Banff and doing all of the stuff with Energy Safety Canada during their conference, I did not have the opportunity to catch up with Gordon Walsh while I was there. Now, Gordon Walsh and I actually made, contact with each other in regards to doing a conversation once I got back to Florida. But Gordon Walsh is the principal consultant for Safety Center of Excellence at Energy Safety Canada. So we got to catch up with the conversation and talking about what had gone on the week before. So if you sit back right now, relax, and enjoy the conversation between me and Gordon Walsh here on Safety FM with Jay Allen.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete signal transmission trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all three books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
So let's just start off with a simple conversation. I know that we are back from Energy Safety Canada's conference from last week, which I had to tell you, another extravagant event that you guys have put on. I don't even know how the planning process goes through in regards to how you all get this all set up. Can you talk a little bit on how you plan, how you structure this? How does this all come together? Because it lands perfectly. I just don't understand the inner workings on how you come up with some of the people that you have on your schedule, how you get this information out to people. It's just amazing on how this magic that you guys do behind the scenes.
Yeah, thanks for that, Jay. It is a ton of work to put together a conference, as anyone knows, but it's, this conference is interesting because we literally start next year's planning at the event itself. So when we're walking around talking to the delegates, when we're talking to the presenters, we're listening to the presenters. We're actually, gathering data for next year for next year's plan to kind of look and say, okay, people are asking this, people are commenting about this. This seems to be resonating with people. This seems to be over people's head or not interesting. So we're trying to say, okay, did we hit it out of the park? Did we, are we 70% on point? Are we 50% on point? And for the most part, people are fairly honest in the moment. How did you enjoy that presentation? Or so we're taking that information. We met yesterday already and had discussions about last week. Just how did the staff feel things went? Did we all meet lots of people? Did our executive engage with lots of our stakeholder clients? And what was some of the feedback? And the other workings of it, the food, the coffee, the Banff Springs experience. Amy, that's really our communications team. They're dealing directly with the group that they commissioned to do that, and with the staff, and then they'll have an after meeting to go over. Oh, we ran out of bacon in the morning, for instance, or, there was the water jugs were empty or something of that nature. These were a couple of things that I noticed that those will get communicated up to the organization that is in charge, and the group, the coordinating group that we deal with. And so, it's literally starts during the event to plan for next year's event. Kind of, that off the cuff, but that's really the conversations that are taking place already. And we have a form tomorrow.
Well, let me ask that question there, because there was already some things that were going on that seemed pretty interesting, because last year it was very, we'll say, hop centric in regards to talking about theory and so on. This year, there was a lot of information with tools, talking about tools. There was also a lot of a conversation about artificial intelligence, which I think that it's great. I love technology, so I could probably sit here for hours just listening to somebody talk about technology. So when you're going around and looking at different things that are going on inside of the industry, because you go to several different events, how do you come up with the ideas of this is what needs to come back to the conference? And how many conferences do you have to go to, or how many events do you have to go to come to the determination that this is what you want to bring to Energy Safety Canada?
Yeah, I have a unique role inside Energy Safety Canada because I get to spend a fair amount of time just paying attention to what's on LinkedIn, who's posting, what are they posting about, what is the most current topics that people are reacting to or commenting on. Going to conferences, at least 2 or 3 a year in different places. I was just down to San Francisco to Safety on the Edge. I'm hoping to go to Columbus, Ohio here if things work out, to the other one coming up here in June. I'll probably hit another conference in the fall, but I'm fairly choosy as to where I'm going. I'm trying to go to conferences where there's speakers that I'm interested in that maybe I haven't met yet or haven't seen, but I've read some of their work online. I may have had them on our HOP virtual community of practice as a presenter or a speaker, but it's quite different speaking virtually than it is, being in person in front of 900 people in a room. So we're always trying to check the pulse, Jay, as to what we're hearing from industry. And it was very specific this year to go with more tools. And you're absolutely right. Your observation is correct. What we're trying to do is have some leading edge stuff, the AI, kind of out there a little bit, and maybe a little more academic. Try to serve that side of getting people to reach further and think a little deeper as to how we're moving forward in this space and evolving our safety mindset. But then at the same time, we have a lot of companies that are saying, thank you, I'm interested in theory. That's helpful, but it's not as helpful as having a tool for me to be able to go into my executive and say, these are the things that I need to do or I would like to do. Can you support these? And this will give us some momentum to go forward. So we definitely need to have a spectrum now, because we have a fairly educated stakeholder group that's coming to the conference from many different industries, mostly the oil and gas and the energy industry. But we have a fairly mature group there that are looking for new things to enhance where they're already at.
Well, and let me ask something here, because there was something that was done during Jeff Liss and Brett Sutton's presentation. And there was a video that was shown that was produced by Energy Safety Canada that showed Michael and Taylor, that they were actually out in the field putting some things into practice related to the 4Ds. How did Energy Safety Canada decide to get involved with this particular process? Because it was a very well-produced video, and it really gave a lot of information. Was some of the portion of deciding to produce this video because of people wanting to see some of these items at work?
Yeah, we try to, usually when we take some of these concepts like the energy wheel or like the 4Ds, what we try to do is see how this is resonating in presentations with our, at the Banff conference, or maybe in a webinar, or maybe a speaker I have on, our HOP community of practice. And what we're trying to gauge is, okay, how does this puzzle fit together? How does this, and what tools are people that are less mature in this area, haven't read as much, maybe haven't been to conferences or heard presenters. How can they take something off the shelf and use it? And they don't have to have a deep understanding of human and organizational performance or human performance. So we make a conscious effort to produce some of these tools, which was the 4Ds video. And of course, we engaged Brent Sutton and Jeff Lith with Learning Teams Inc. And we said, there's your subject matter experts. These folks will help you with the script. We commissioned a third-party video group that did a lot of work for Imperial Oil. And we thought the story was great when we asked the question to Imperial, would they consider having us on site? Because rather than doing something in an office and, kind of staging an event, we thought it's just great to get out in the field where people actually work. And the story that came out in the 4Ds that, Taylor and Michael described was a situation from, previous years that really resonated with them. This was one thing about half tons that really slowed down work and really caused people grief. So, but it's only one thing. There's, frontline workers are dealing with these kinds of challenges every day, as we know, and most often they're adapting and working through it without resolution. Often they're dealing with the same issues over and over. So this was kind of just a powerful example of listening to your frontline workforce and then acting on what you've learned, putting it in place, and then seeing those positive outcomes.
Well, it was also interesting because Taylor and Michael had also had a session last year that they had done. And then this year they did another session where they were able to have some of the discussions on some of the things that they were seeing out in the field. What I thought was interesting was that last year's session was more of a presentation style, just kind of going through the path of what they were going through. But this year they did something extremely different where they decided that it would be in their best interest to go ahead and open it up to the group. So they did maybe 15, 20 minutes, and the rest of it was questions. And when somebody comes to Energy Safety Canada and they're going to present there, is this a discussion that you have ahead of time of what does the layout of the land of your presentation look like? Because it was much different than some of the other ones. Now, keep in mind the ones in the main ballroom had questions using Slido afterwards, but they took it, to me at least, it seemed like a totally different aspect of, hey, you're going to have questions about this. Let's move forward. So how does normally the standard presentation type come your general directions? Do they have to give you the whole layout, or is it, are they winging it as they are going?
Yeah, no, that's a good question, Jay. We hit this from a few different angles. So if we're kind of interested in a presenter going at the front of the room, we have to have a pretty good confidence that person is going to be engaged in the topics that is going to be interesting to our people. But we don't, as a group at Energy Safety Canada, go over people's slides slide for slide. A lot of presenters are happy to share it. Matter of fact, a couple of presenters came to me and said, Cindy Landlal and Carmen Lopez, oh, did you see my presentation? And I said, actually, I didn't. I'm very interested in hearing you when you're on the stage. So with Michael and Taylor, I believe it was their idea that they would kind of have more of a storytelling style, and then start engaging to hear some stories from other people in the audience, so that it's much more engaging in that smaller room environment. And I remember when we were in Florida, and you and I had met down there at that time, and we had the little breakout sessions after the main presentations in the smaller rooms, 15, 20 people. And those were powerful opportunities to meet the speaker and ask some very specific questions and have some engaging conversations. So I think that was Taylor and Michael's. It's their experience. Taylor does a lot of training of leadership in Imperial Oil, and it gives. He knows the value of that. So we don't need to control every minute of the presentation, and we don't need to control the message. If we believe that the people are bringing good stuff to the table, and maybe the views are a little bit different or a little unorthodox or something else, that's okay. We're good with having having different voices in the room, and even conflicting voices if it raises good points that people are dealing with.
Well, it almost sounds like you set me up in regards of already what I had going on in mind that I wanted to ask you next. Because last year I'm going to forget his last name, but his first name was Nick, and he did a presentation about behavior-based safety, and I thought it was really interesting just to hear different aspects, because automatically when you go to a HOP conference, people are going to assume no one's going to talk about BBS here. So when that came about, idealistically, what was the reasoning behind going, let's go behavior-based safety in regards to some of the conversations, if you don't mind me asking? Because I just want to have an understanding, because I love how the openness that Energy Safety Canada has with some of the stuff that's going on.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I didn't know much about Nick's work before he came up last year, and I didn't know how deeply he was involved with behavior-based safety. And I think sometimes folks think it's either this or that. And that was one of the criticisms early on when Energy Safety Canada started moving into the space of human and organizational performance and safety differently. People started, they had their own assumptions that, we're going to toss everything we've been doing up to date and what's been successful for us. And now you guys are giving us another program, so to speak. And we were very cautious about that, to try to reiterate to people that this is not the intent, right? The intent is to bring new thinking that has been successful by other industries and for decades, and to try to learn something from some of these new ways. But one of the things we talk about, Jay, is just say, if your system is stable and you're happy with your system and it's performing well with you, who are we to tell you from outside your organization what you should or shouldn't do? So if behavior-based safety is something that works in your environment, then all the power to you. If strict command and control or hierarchical leadership has worked for you, and you're able to keep things stable and your performance says so, and you're able to employ people, who are we to tell you how to run your business? But we look at it from more of a collective across the industry. And we have 21 industry codes that Energy Safety Canada has a direct sight line in our data for. And that's what we're making our judgment calls to say, yeah, some things we've been doing a good job of. And over the last 30, 35 years, we've been really reducing overall injury rates. No two ways about it. Great. And we did a great job up until about 10 years ago on reducing fatalities. We were going down, and then we kind of flatlined. And when we looked at our performance on the fatality and serious injury side, it was pretty representative in the United States. It was pretty representative in other places in the world, like Australia. I think Europe actually is, doing better than us. But the reality is, voices and critical thinking, that's what we're trying to connect here. Part of our Safety Center of Excellence mandate is to engage academics, learn and learn from those academics, learn from what I call the conversations with lots of smart people, and try to have those voices come and engage industry in a different way, not in good or bad, but in more critical thinking about how we're managing our safety.
I have to tell you that just the open-mindedness behind it, and especially the approach that you and Energy Safety Canada are taking, is just quite amazing. And then especially the access points that you have that you're able to take a look at. Now, for the people that don't understand the structure of how Energy Safety Canada works, can you tell them on how it's structured within the organization itself and how it came about?
Sure. So Energy Safety Canada merged with the Oil Sands Safety Association 7 seven plus years ago. We used to be N-formed, and before that we were PITS. And for the folks that have been in the industry for a long time, there has always been an industry safety association that had folks from the industry on the board of directors and advising our executive as to the strategies to work with industry directly to, manage, decrease serious injuries and fatalities and significant events that could harm the environment and the public. So this has been an ongoing safety association for many, many years. We're a group of about 120 staff, and we're in British Columbia. We have an office. We have an office in Weyburn, Saskatchewan, one in Nisku, and a big center, in an industry center up there in oil and gas operations on site. We have our main office in Calgary, and we dispatch across, from the East Coast to the West Coast, from LNG to the offshore in Newfoundland, and not that we're experts in these areas. We're learning with industry, and we're here as a resource to try to, provide as much support as we can for the organizations working in these more, I guess, obscure areas compared to our traditional oil and gas operations, as well as our oil sands operations in Fort McMurray, Alberta. But how we're structured is we are what we call a not-for-profit charitable organization, a not-for-profit safety organization. We are funded by industry through the Workers' Compensation Board. We receive some of our funding through a levy that is voluntarily given by industry to support our safety association, and then we make other revenue through our training models and services. There are, I believe, 13 not-for-profit safety associations in Alberta. We're quite unique in that way. We have a hotel association. We have a Alberta Construction Safety Association, Manufacturers Health and Safety Association, Alberta Motor Transport Safety Association, and many more. And it really gives you just a focus on your industry. You're engaged directly with your industry and supported by your industry. And we have a lot of advisory committees where industry people will sit on those committees, and that helps us chart our course forward from a strategy standpoint as to what we should be focused on and what type of tools, guidelines, education that industry will need. So that's kind of how we're set up.
No, I mean, and it's amazing. I didn't realize on how big and the scope of what all that you covered, but it's pretty amazing in regards to the size. Now, of course, since the last event that I went to, which was last year, and then the event this year, you've had a change, and the CEO Murray's gone, and now you have Vanita. How have things changed? How have things progressed? How are they looking now? If you don't mind me asking you, if it's too controversial of an answer, you don't have to answer it, of course.
No, not at all. No, happy to comment on that. Yeah, Murray Elliott was our CEO and president for 7+ years. Murray brought real structure to the organization and a real focus on serious injury and fatality through the work that he did with our board of directors, and the building that competency in-house and really, setting the ship in the right direction. Murray was a huge supporter of the Banff conference and bringing experts in from around the world. And Vanita came on with us, I believe, last June, July, and took over in Murray's space. Vanita has decades of experience in the oil and gas industry, professional engineer. She is very, very attuned to health and safety and the importance of it in order for successful operations. She's lived it for multiple decades. Vanita is a very outgoing person, as you experienced, and was thrilled to have the opportunity to come on board with Energy Safety Canada and lead us forward and continuing to work with industry directly. And Vanita has, has quite a vision of not just individual companies progressing and doing well, although that's very important. Our role is to create that wave that Georgina Poole talks about, and really get people behind these concepts, and collectively as an industry create that wave. And Vanita is definitely the person with the energy and the foresight to lead that, and to bring the right people on board, and create those relationships to get the information we need to inform us. If we stay in our office, Jay, then we will have a certain amount of information, a certain amount of intel, but it is absolutely critical that we engage industry in all sectors and meet with those folks on regular intervals, so that we're getting data that is happening on the front line. The challenge, the good, the bad, and the ugly, as we say, and we need to hear it from the small companies. I always say the 50 to the 500s, those small to medium size, and even smaller than that, as well as the big majors.
Well, it was interesting hearing her start off with the conference itself, where she started talking about, hey, we've been talking about HOP for years now. Now we've been talking about how to do it. Now let's talk about some of the tools that are available for you, that you can go out there and really start applying them in regards to what was going on. Because, of course, you can always talk about theory for so long until you start you can look at it through the lens for quite some time, but how do you apply this lens? And I really love your answer earlier about, if behavior-based safety has been working for you, and that's something that works, continue to do what works, and always giving people more options than, hey, this is the only way, the truth, and the path. Because it's a hard conversation most of the times when you start having conversations with people and you tell them, hey, you've been doing this, you need to stop doing this and go into something else, because they're going to go, we spent millions of dollars to get to this particular point, so why would we stop doing it? Because that got us here. Good, bad, or indifferent. So as you're looking around right now, and I know that we're just a few days out from finishing the conference in 2025, what's piquing your interest? What are you looking at now? I'm not saying that this is what's coming next year. I'm just saying what's piquing your interest, because I always like to look where other people are looking too, just to see what's going on.
Yeah, it's funny you asked that, Jay, because I just got an email from one of my coworkers that said, we need to meet and we need to talk about all of the offerings that Energy Safety Canada has, that we are currently providing to our stakeholder group and our companies, and what we're doing out in a public way. And we need to, kind of validate our messaging in our 1 hour session, our 2 hour session, our 4 hour session, our 1 day session, and all of these offerings that we have. We need to look at the courses we have to make sure that the key courses are delivering what we think they're delivering. So that whole idea of assurance is the message getting out to industry that we want them to have, that we have these, we have these tools, we have capacity in-house with a group of, industry impact and support group. Are people aware of what we have? So first of all, we're going to look internally. That's the first thing that we're looking at right now, Jay. But I'm always keeping my eye on the ball for the people that are bringing, something, a different message, or maybe even a message of confirmation of what we've been doing so far. The one thing that you will have seen that has accelerated over the last year is a discussion around SIF, or, serious incident or injuries and fatalities, or critical risk management. And we've been talking about this for quite a period of time. This will continue to be a focus, and we're really watching and we're involved as well with the work of the Construction Safety Research Alliance out of Boulder, Colorado, with Dr. Matt Hallowell. So what we're paying attention to is the different groups, the IOGP and the other groups in Europe. We're paying attention to these things to see where they help to enhance, the tools and the messaging that we're already delivering. So that's kind of where our focus is to enhance those relationships, look at what's coming out of these other bodies, identify those key players that are very competent in this space, and then look at progressing this forward.
Well, I mean, as I look at this, I mean, even when you mentioned Dr. Mack, he was there last year in regard to doing a presentation, and he was very generous with his time afterwards, and he came onto the show and talked about what he has going on. So it's just amazing what you all are doing up there. Now, just for the people that are interested in some of the resources that you have available now, because it's called Energy Safety Canada, of course, I have to ask the question, does this mean that it's only for people that are in Canada, or that is the resources, can anybody be from any country to be able to use them?
Yeah, the resources we have on our website are open to anyone. Anyone can use those videos. There's how-to guides, 1-pagers, 2-pagers that go with those videos, go with the tools. Anyone can access those, and we encourage anyone. And I've had people in California, I've had people in Australia talk to me about, you guys got a great website. I've had people in the medical world say, we've used some of your guys's tools that you have, and this is really cool. That this is people in the industrial construction, even residential construction. It's wide open, Jay. Anything we put on our website is designed to just try to get the word out there, and we do a lot of presentations that are outside of the Energy Association. I did one yesterday for a municipality in Northern Alberta. I did a virtual presentation for them for 1 hour on HOP. I'll be doing another one next week for construction related virtual. It's 1 hour of my time. But what I'm trying to do, Jay, is to be thoughtful about sharing what we've learned, as Exxon and Imperial have shared with us, and Chevron has shared with us, and Shell has shared with us, and the work that Suncor is doing, and Syncrude, and the other agencies and other big companies. We're trying to do the same, and really have this. It truly is about, if we can, as a collective, can get people behind what we believe can make a difference in saving people's lives. We had 50 traumatic deaths in Alberta in 2024. 50 people lost their lives in many different industries through a traumatic event. We had at least another 40 of those on top of that were motor vehicle related incidents, and where people were at work. We had 113 occupational deaths, where occupational health related, long-term suffering that people go through from health effects. So we have a ton of work to do, and we're just happy that we have the backing of our industry and the backing of the companies we serve in order to share this message and really try to make a difference for my kids and many others that are in that age group, that they're going to be, they're working out there in this industry and many other industries.
Well, I mean, I really do appreciate the work that you all are doing there at Energy Safety Canada. Now, if I can input my 2 cents that you did not ask for, but I'm going to share anyways. I really think that it would be beneficial if you all had a session during the conference talking about everything that you have to offer, because I think that sometimes that might be an audience that is a little bit underserved, or might not even know everything that you have available, especially being part of this. Just a thought, of course.
No, that's a great suggestion, and I agree with you. I think I'm going to talk to the planning group internally here, just to and say this is not about it's not about Energy Safety Canada. It's really about bringing in other speakers from around the world and getting different messages and people from different industries. But we should also remember that there's a lot of people that are depending on those tools that we're providing and utilizing those And it's important that they know that. And I agree with you 100%. We should do a little side room and just so people are a little more aware of the services.
Yeah, especially because if you're accustomed to going to a normal conference, which that's not what Energy Safety Canada is, because you're so focused on things that are going on, I think that it would be beneficial for them to know, hey, here's some stuff. It's not a standard conference per se, as other conferences just, okay, here, come in, see you later, that's it. You guys really do care about what's going on. Now, Gord, if people want to find out more about what you have going on or Energy Safety Canada, where can they go?
Yeah, they can. Our website there is energysafetycanada.com. You can go right on to it's a very easy search, and you can go in there and look at multiple different the titles for the website. It'll take you in different areas from training to other available tools and resources and standards and guides and all those things. And for myself personally, it's Gordon.Walsh at energysafetycanada.com. And I'm happy to take, questions from people on what Energy Safety Canada is up to in this space. And if I don't have the answer, there is somebody internally that will, and I'm happy to introduce any inquiries to the right people to make sure we get the right message in.
Well, Gordon, I appreciate you coming on today.
Great. Thanks, Jay. It's great. It was great to have you in Banff again. It's awesome that, people from all around the world are getting together under the same umbrella to say, this is an important message to be sharing, whether it's having Cindy come from Trinidad or Sean and Jody coming and Georgina from Australia and Carmen from Los Angeles, yourself from Florida, Klaus coming in from Germany, and other people from across Canada. And we were really happy this year to have local companies, Precision Drilling, Suncor, Finning, Imperial, all speaking about their safety evolution and where they're going. So.
Yeah, it was definitely an excellent event, and I know that this one will be a little bit, we'll go further down in regards of when we're doing the sessions on a release, but we're releasing the first presentation in the podcast today, so that will be hitting the airwaves today also. Gordon, I do appreciate it.
Right.
The views and opinions expressed during this broadcast, podcast, or radio show are solely those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Safety FM and or Radio Big. The content discussed, including examples of analysis, is provided for illustrative purposes only. It should not be applied as the sole solution in real-world scenarios, as it is based on limited and dated open source information. Any assumptions made during this broadcast, podcast, or radio show are not reflective of Safety FM and or Radio Big. No portion of this broadcast, podcast, or radio show may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, electronic, mechanical, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of Safety FM and or Radio Big. For permission requests, please contact Safety FM or Radio Big directly.